going to be going over 5 effective strategies that are game-changing to your Amazon PPC to help you scale. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to be going over 5 different strategies, but then I'm going to show you how to mine a search term report. And I'm actually going to bring in Melissa to help me out with that. But what we do is we pull a search term report from your Amazon campaign manager, we organize it, and then we look at the keywords and the search terms and the ASINs that are in there that are going to help us scale. This is one of the single most important things that you can do in your business. This is something that we do whenever we onboard a new client. And then we also do it periodically, usually once a month or once every 2 months or once every 3 months to just help scale our Amazon PPC faster. Now we have software that does help us do this, but we still do it manually because it is that effective for you to really get to know the products that you're selling and what Amazon deems you relevant for. So what's game-changing strategy number 1? I've talked about it many times in this whole series, and it's focusing on tacos, not ACoS. Tacos should be your primary driver for everything. Tacos is your total advertising cost of sale. It's your ad spend compared to your total sales. Whereas an advertising cost of sale is advertising spend and advertising sales. And so there's a big difference between the two. Sellers that are rookies and they don't have a lot of experience focus on ACoS. And the reason is they get their ACoS going higher, they freak out and they turn it off. The problem with that strategy is even though that ACoS may be climbing for one campaign or one keyword or one search term or one ASIN, it might be bringing down your tacos. And if you bring down your tacos, you increase your profitability regardless of what your ACoS is. So you shouldn't make big decisions based on ACoS, especially of individual campaigns. Now, with that being said, strategy number 2 is you need to focus on your ACoS of your entire account, not individual campaigns. We have a client that's working with us and their ACoS is about a 35%. Now their target is a 65%. And so we're going to increase the aggressiveness of their ads because we're going to increase their organic rank as a result. But as that ACoS goes up, what's probably going to happen, we haven't finished it yet, is the organic rank is going to go up for primary keywords that they should be ranking for. So don't look at individual campaign ACoSs, look at the account-wide ACoS. Another example is in iLove for the word sty treatment. We had an eyelid wipe and it ranked for the word sty treatment. Now, sty treatment run in an exact match campaign, single keyword ad group in an exact match campaign, ran at 150% ACoS, but we got 4 sales a day from it. Imagine what that did for our organic rank because we converted over 30%. We had a high ACoS of about 150%, but we got 4 sales a day on it. So it increased the ranking, not just for sty treatment, but for every word in that keyword silo. The word sty treatment, something for styes, whatever it is. That whole keyword silo was ranked higher. We were organically ranked higher as a result of that one campaign running at 150% ACoS, but our entire campaign or our entire campaign manager, our entire account still was at a great ACoS level, even though that one campaign was high. So look at your account-wide ACoS perspective. Now, the third thing you need to do is you need to look at your budgets. You need to start small. When you start making your single keyword ad campaigns around that single search term, start with small budgets like $10 to $15 a day. Make small bets. And then when you start to see a campaign taking off, gaining sales velocity within ACoS targets, but most importantly, sales velocity with high conversion rate, then go all in. Raise the budgets. Slowly raise the bids. And don't be afraid to do that because when you do that, it's going to significantly increase your organic rank, therefore decreasing your tacos. So start with small budgets, a lot of different campaigns with small budgets, and then go all in. The fourth thing is we want to expand the keyword list that we're going after. I've talked a lot about it, how we go after single keyword ad campaigns. Single keyword ad campaigns are single search terms. We go after one search term, one product in a campaign. We'll do exact match and we'll do broad match. How we find these keywords is mining a search term report. That's what we're going to be showing you later in this video when I turn around and share my screen. Actually, I'm going to bring in Melissa and she's going to be sharing her screen and showing you guys how to mine your search term report. Now, what we do with this search term is anything that gets 3 or more sales in that search term report, we'll make a single keyword ad campaign for that search term. So 3 or more sales with a high conversion rate, we'll make a single keyword ad campaign exact match for that search term. Anything with 10 sales or more, we'll make a single keyword ad campaign that's broad match. And again, this will make more sense when we get into it, when Melissa starts sharing her screen. And then finally, the 5th effective strategy for Amazon PPC is to focus on sponsored products. Sponsored brands are expensive and they cost a lot of money. Sponsored display is there, but it doesn't do much to push the needle for organic rank. The 80-20 of Amazon advertising is sponsored products. And if you just focus on sponsored products, you will scale faster, you will profit more, and you'll decrease your costs, and you'll increase your organic rank in sales. So ignore everything else. Ignore it all. Seriously, I'm dead serious. We do this with all our clients, and it shoots up their profit, shoots up their sales. It does a tremendous amount. So focus on sponsored products only. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Melissa, and she's going to show you exactly how we mine a search term report.
Hey guys, let's go over how to download a search term report, or STR. We're going to start here in Seller Central homepage. Going to come over to the menu, advertising, and campaign manager. Okay, then from your campaign manager, you're already on your homepage here. We're going to come down to measurements and reporting. We're going to go to sponsored ads reports. Okay, and you can see that we always download these, throughout the year, throughout the month. It's something that we check on quite often. We do have them set on a scheduled monthly, so this is something that you probably want to set up to just download on the first of the month for the last 30 days. So we're going to go to create report, sponsored products, and you can do sponsored brand, sponsored display for different reports, but we're specifically looking at sponsored products today. We're going to go to search term, not any of the other ones here. And we're going to go to summary. And then generally we like to pull last 60 days. You can pull last 30. You won't get a lot of information for last 7, last week, or anything like that. But what I always do is go back as far as it allows me to go within the date range, select the first date that it allows, and then go to today's date. You can name these whatever you want to. I personally, it's actually SPSTR. For sponsored product search term report. And then I like to put the date of these in here just so that I can see it right away when I'm looking at the list of reports that I can download. And we're going to go to run report. Okay, and you can see that this is processing. It's already running, but you'll find the dates here for report period. We'll give that a few minutes. But if we do this like report settings, you can look at all of the details that we had just put in there to get this downloaded. And it's been completed now, so we'll download this search term report. Now you're going to want to pull this into a Google Sheets, Google Workbook. And we're going to file, import. We're going to upload, however you pull your uploads in. And I always go to insert a new sheet. And formatting wise, I'm just a fan of keeping everything really consistent. Arial 10, bold and freeze the headers. So now that you have all of these in here, everything looks really consistent. The next thing that I like to do just for simplicity is switch the headers to something shorter so that I know what I'm looking at without having too much space. Click-through rate changes to CTR, cost per click changes to CPC, 7-day total sales just changes to total sales. Total advertising cost of sales is gonna go to ACoS, and then total return on advertising spend is gonna go to ROAS. I also like to do the 7-day total orders to just total orders, and the 7-day total units to total units. And then the 7-day conversion rate, I like CR and the % sign. I'm not going to change the rest of these because I'm actually not going to use the advertised SKUs versus other SKUs for anything at this point. But what I am going to do is format the columns for the correct number types. We don't need this many decimal points for CTR, ACoS. So we're going to change these first. Get the percentages correct in here. ACoS, conversion rate, just hit that. I like to do the CPC, total sales, all my currency. So those are correct. And then what I like to do is just make sure that all of the columns are the same here. And I'm going to do this one. See if it'll do this. There we go. Resize the selected columns. I like 100. And then I just go through that and make sure that I click all of them so that they're all consistent. All right. And then with this 7-day advertised SKUs, all this stuff, I'm just going to delete this for right now. I don't need it for anything, but I do need these additional columns for future steps within our process. Customer search term here, I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. And then I actually don't need start or end date. I don't need portfolio name. So I'm going to take all of this out, and I don't need currency either. So then we have a nice clean sheet ready to go. I'm going to hide this one that I was playing with earlier. All right. And then I like to just change the name to SPSTR and 60 day. Okay. Now, the other piece of information that you need from stuff that we've worked on before is you need your cost per acquisition and your ACoS. So we've done this already in a previous chapter, and you can just copy this right in from there. So the ASIN that we're working with today is the child ASIN in column A. I have my target ACoS of 38%. Title is just the title that we've given it as the product. I've got our sales price. I've got our Amazon fees, my COGS, the maximum CPA, and the break-even ACoS. So I've got everything all set here, and this is what I'm going to use when I go into figuring out what my bid is for each of these keywords and ASINs that I'm going to pull out of there. So let's go back to the sponsored product search term report 60 day. And the first thing I want to do is filter this for this ASIN. So because I have these wonderful clean campaign names from Quartile, I can very easily just filter this out for everything that I'm personally looking for in this process. So I'm going to create a filter. I'm going to clear everything out of it. And then I'm going to select everything with this ASIN in it and hit OK. Now, the thing that you're going to do with mining search term report or search terms from here and ASIN targets from here is you're going to do this by order. So what we're looking for is 3+ orders. And then we're going to take all of those search terms and pull them into a separate worksheet so that we can look at them separately. We'll do that with the ASINs as well. We're also going to put those in a different worksheet so that we can look at those separately. But that's the next thing that we're going to do here is pulling all those with orders out. The reason that we don't pull anything with 1 or 2 orders is it's just not enough data to make a for sure decision if we should launch those as its own campaign. We're not really sure how it performs on that yet. It could have been just kind of a fluke sale within there. So we really like to go after those that have multiple orders within them. So with this already being filtered the way that I want that to be, I'm going to come over to orders and I'm going to unclick 0, 1, and 2. That's going to filter everything down for me to just be here at total orders. And I'm going to take all of this information here. And what I'm going to do is I don't need the targeting. I only need the customer search term and all of the data that's going with it here with total orders. So I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to go over. So I have these and I'm going to copy. I'm going to add a sheet. I'm going to call this search terms. I've pulled the headers over as well. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze this. All right. So the thing that I want to get out of this though is the ASINs. And the easiest way for me to do the ASINs is to sort the range by column A because it'll put all of your ASINs that you're pulling out of there together. So I am going to grab this header. I'm going to add another sheet. I'm going to call this product targeting. I'm going to put this here. From here, I'm going to take these ASINs. I'm going to cut them out of this sheet, throw them in here, and then freeze. So I have everything for ASINs that's sold on this, and then I have everything for search terms that's sold on this. So the next thing that you're going to do is sort this by orders, high to low. So data, advanced, it's got a header row, total orders, high to low. And then with product targeting, you can do the same thing. Data, sort range, there's the header, orders, high to low. Perfect. So you've got your search terms and your product targeting mined out of there. So the next thing that we're going to do is decide what we're going to launch as exact and what we're going to launch as broad. Now within Profitable Pineapple, our keys are for an exact match, it's 3 orders. For a broad match, it's 10 orders. That broad match can pull in a lot of different things. So you want to make sure that you have it something that really has good data with it and it's gotten good sales. It's not something that you want to do with something with a little bit less metrics, especially if you've looked over 60 days. 3 orders over 60 days is okay to launch an exact match, but for a broad match, we'd want a little bit more data to go with that. So within here, what I'm going to do is look at where that cutoff is. So here's my 3 orders, and then here's above 10. So I know that everything within here is going to go in as an exact, but I know that just these top ones right here, those are going to go in as exact and broad. So that's a little bit different than just putting them in as exact, but you will have some in here like these top 4 that are going to go in as both, which is great. We're seeing some really good conversion rates here. So that's something to pay attention to. Right here's the only really low one that we're seeing with kids apron and chef hat. But for this product, we know that it's really relevant. So it's still something that we are going to launch as an exact match. So let's go ahead and look at product targeting as well. Again, with this one, we're going to launch all of these as sponsored product targeting. This isn't necessarily exact match or broad match. We're just going to put them in there for product targeting. All right. So when I come over here, I'm going to insert a column to the right. And I actually like to do 2 of these. So exact and broad. Resize these. Okay. So I'm going to put an X on these and then an X on all of these. When you have a much longer list, that X makes it easier to filter out. When you're just looking for broad, you can filter this to just those. This one's really easy because you can just pull them straight from there. These are just going to get launched as sponsored product targeting. So that's what works for these. Now, the next piece of this is to figure out what your cost per click is going to be for these exact broad and product targeting ads. So let's go ahead and do the formulas that we had done previously in a different chapter. So we'd done the clicks to orders, max CPA, and then the max CPC. Because you want to set these at max CPC based on the data that you have, because that's what we're going to go for to try to get the most velocity and traffic that we can with these. So let's start with search terms. We're going to go clicks to orders, and then max CPA and max CPC. Here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this over to the product targeting as well. Even though this isn't necessarily, we're not going to change this for broad or exact for this, but we do want to look at this on a clicks per orders basis and what the max CPA is, right? And so clicks per order is pretty simple. It is legitimately just clicks over orders. And your max CPA is going to come from your CPA ACoS sheet. So max CPA is right here. It's 765. I'm going to pull that over here. And then so your max CPC is your max CPA divided by your clicks per order. So we're going to go equals max CPA divided by your clicks over your orders. And I'm going to down this just a little bit. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to, I'm just going to drag this down. There we go. So just make sure that when you're dragging that the CPA doesn't start doing consecutive numbers like it would do 766, 767. Just make sure it doesn't go that way with it. But you can see you've got your max CPC for each of these along with your clicks per orders. And then your max CPA is consistent throughout. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy these right over to the product targeting. So I know what I can launch these at as well, which is super helpful. So from here, you can see again, max CPC. So we know what we're going to set those bids at. We've got our clicks per order. The max CPA is the same because it's the same product, which is great. All right. So when we go in to launch these single keyword campaigns, we're going to do exact and broad, like I said, and then the single ASIN campaigns as well. So let's go ahead and build out what that looks like. So in this sheet, we're going to call this our campaign build. And we're going to say match type, or we could do campaign type, either or. And ASIN, SKU, budget, keyword, or PT, which would be that ASIN. And then I always pull my bid in here too, so I know what that is. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's pull in our broads first. So to show you how that filter works, you just set your filter here, and I'm going to do this and just take the blanks out. So I know that each of these is going to go in as a broad. I'm going to copy these over into the campaign build. I'm going to go back to search terms. I'm going to grab my max CPC. And for this, I did make that mistake. You do have to paste values only because you have it in there as a formula. And then the match type for this is broad. And then my ASIN for this one is the only one that we're working with. I'm not going to add our SKU to this because if you're not uploading it into Quartile right away, you're not going to need the SKU to do that. You just need this to create the basics of the campaign name. So I'm not going to add the SKU, but this is where you would put that SKU. Okay. And then as far as budget goes, I really like to look at budget from maybe a different standpoint than most. When I'm looking at this, some people get to be really conservative with their budget when they're launching single keyword campaigns. I like to go a little bit more aggressive so that I know what kind of velocity it can get right off the bat. Some of them launch at 5. I really never suggest doing that because it doesn't give you enough clicks right away to determine whether this is going to work or not. So I'm a big fan of 15. Even 10 is pretty good, but if it's something that has a lot of orders, you can definitely give it a lot more budget. So one thing to do when making that consideration here is if you go back and you're going to pull the total orders from these into the campaign build, you could say total orders. This is quite a bit. Like this is a lot. So what I would do with this is I'm actually probably going to set this one, I'd say at 40 or 50 to start with. Anything over 20. And then as it gets down there, I'll set this at 30 and just really see what this campaign can do. So I've got my broads in there. I'm going to go ahead and come back into this and I'm going to grab all of my exacts. And I know that everything that's in here is going in as an exact. So I can pull all of these keywords into the campaign build, copy them right there. With product targeting is OP. If you wanted to do PT, that would be totally fine too. But if you're going into quartile again, that match code is OP, so you can keep those separated. With this one does really, really well. I'm going to give it a high budget. This one I'm actually going to give 50. This one I'll knock down a little bit to 40, 15, and 15. Okay, so now if you're going into quartile and you've got your SKUs filled out, all you have to do is select the drop down correctly and then upload these to quartile. But the piece of this that you're kind of missing is you want to make sure that you're grouping together similar bids so you're not creating more work for yourself. One thing that I like to do with this is sort them. Here, I will move this. I'm going to add one in between. I like to group them together. Okay, so when we're looking at this, you want to group those together just so that you're not making more work for yourself, because when you're adding them into quartile, you're going to have the same bid for the group of campaigns that you're adding them in there for. You can do this also if you're using like a bulk upload for it. It's super easy and makes everything just a little bit more simplistic without really blowing your budget. So what I like to do is I like to round up to the nearest 2/10 so that it's not 1/10 and it makes a ton of bids, but I like to do 2/10. So when figuring this bid, the formula that I'm going to use is rounding it up to the next 2/10. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a column. I'm going to call this the rounded bid. And then from here, the formula that I'm going to use is equals round. Round. There we go. Insert your parentheses will come up, and then you want to pick your bid and you want to multiply by 4, enter your parentheses, divide by 4, and then hit enter. And this will autofill to the rest of these. And what you want to do is move this down all the way and then move this down all the way. So you can see that it has rounded to the nearest, 0.25. That gives you just 4 variations within that dollar that can, that you'll be able to do with that. So it's not as much work going back and forth between spreadsheets to copy paste them in. So from here, I'm going to sort each of these sections because they're going to go in as different match types. And it doesn't have a header row, but I want to sort it by G. I'm going to go high to low. And for this one, data sort range by G, high to low. And same with this one, data sort range by G, high to low. Okay, so you can start to see where they get grouped together. So you've got 2 450s, there's some 375s, 275, 250, 225. There's where you start getting a little bit more of that. So they're starting out a lot closer than those individual ones, which could be very frustrating and time consuming trying to put them into quartile individually. So that's just one little trick that I like to do to kind of group that and make these uploads a bit more efficient. So the next thing that you'll do is you'll build these out manually, or you'll upload them into quartile, which is super easy and awesome. It's literally just a copy paste. When you'd have this SKU here, what I would do is I would just take these, put in the 450 and go from there. And with quartile, I will go ahead and pull this up and kind of show you what we would do with that. So coming back over here, I have create campaigns. So with this one, because these are grouped together right here, I'm just going to create a test SKU just so we have something to put in there. All I'm going to do to create an exact match campaign with a 450 bid is I'm going to select create exact. I'm going to put in 450. I'm going to select the ASIN, the SKU, the budget, and then the target, and I'm just going to copy these. And then once I get back to quartile, I'm just going to hit paste. And it's all in there, and then you'd hit create now. It'll create those campaigns for you. You can check the status at another time once they're created. I'm not going to create these because we've just got a test SKU in there, but that's essentially how you build in quartile. And then just make sure that this is that 450 that you want before you hit create. And then you just start going by those groups of where you have the same bids for those. It's important not to group too many of them together. You don't want to round up to a whole dollar or even 50 cents because that's a lot of difference between bids. 25 cents is okay. Even 2/10 is even a little bit better. But this is essentially how you would do that. So next topic that we're going to cover now that we have all of this built out is we've gone over the launching of the single keyword campaigns and the single ASIN campaigns. Now we're going to talk about building out auto campaigns for the top 20% of your ASINs. Now, the biggest thing about this is you want to focus on your top 20% of ASINs. For this one specifically, this product covers the 20% of our catalog, like the top 20% of that brings in 80% of our sales. this is the only ASIN that I'm going to launch an auto campaign for. That's all I want to do with this one. I don't want to launch it on absolutely everything. We're not doing anything super big. We just want it to mine out and build some, pull some data, bring some new keywords in, maybe some ASIN targeting, and see where the Amazon algorithm thinks that we're relevant, because that's what's going to tell us what the algorithm thinks of our product. The way to build those out within Quartile is you'll pull the child ASIN from here. And you can do this here within the campaign build as well. It's pretty easy. I'll go ahead and mark this off with yellow and auto. So this is called an ATM campaign. You'll go ahead and put the ASIN back in here. We've got that test SKU. And then whatever you want to put for your budget, I usually do a $15 budget to start with. But this is as simple as it is to build out that in Quartile. So I'm going to grab these three. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to create an automatic campaign. For this one, I generally like kind of a lower bid. But what I do like to do is if you go back to this CPA ACoS, because it's an auto campaign, you really don't know how it's going to perform. I would do auto bid, and then I'm going to take the maximum CPA, and I'm either going to divide that by 10 or 15. So that tells me like 10 clicks or 15 clicks to an order. And even if I take this and I do equals the CPA divided by 15, I'm going to have a bid somewhere in between 51 cents and 77 cents. 77 cents if I'm feeling like it needs to be a bit more aggressive, 51 cents if I'm just trying to gather some data at a slow rate, because I already have a lot going on within the search term report that I have. So we can put 51 cents in there for now. I'm going to do 0.51. And then I'm just going to paste in the product, which is the ASIN, the SKU, and then the budget, and then you hit create, and that'll create your auto campaign for you. So far we've mined our search term report. We have figured out what our max CPC is for each of those keywords. We also covered strategy for launching an auto campaign and figuring out what the bid for that should be. What you're going to want to do next is create your negative phrase and negative exact keyword list. You're going to want to get this uploaded into your broad and auto campaigns as soon as possible. So it's good to, instead of launching those right away, get this done as well. But this is kind of a separate topic, a little bit reverse engineering what we had just done, looking for the opposite. So we're not looking for really great stuff. We're looking for stuff that isn't working. So let's go ahead and go through that with the same search term report that you guys already have pulled. We're going to go back to the original raw data here. So the SPSTR 60 day. I'm going to go ahead from here and take off our filters, select all, and I'm going to go in and clear everything but 0 orders. This is going to be quite an extensive list. So what we're going to want to look for in here is anything that doesn't make sense or is irrelevant to your product and what you're doing with this. Now, keep in mind with this, I still have the filter on for the one ASIN that we're going after. So what I'm going to do is start pulling this data into a separate sheet so it's a little bit easier to work with. Very similar to what we had just done, but I want to clean this up so it's not as many search terms to go through, because there's a good chance that there's some duplicates in here. So I am going to go ahead and create another sheet for negatives, 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 mega negatives. Negatives there. And I'm going to pull search terms all the way down. Okay. I'm going to pull over because I want to bring this data with me. Copy all of that into my negatives sheet. Freeze that top row. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger so I can see everything going on in here. And then from here, I want to, what I want to do is I want to sort by clicks high to low. I want to see what's coming in as far as these clicks go, and I want to keep the ones that have the highest number of clicks. Now, the opposite thing you can do with this is a pivot table to determine how many clicks things are getting, and that might be a better option. But for now, if you don't want to mess with a pivot table and going through all of that, this is probably best. So I'm actually going to create 2 of these so I can go through them separately with you. And I'll duplicate this just for negatives for pivot table. Okay, so doing this manually first, this is the best way to do this, is select the entire sheet, data sort range. It has a header row. I want to search by click or sort by clicks, high to low. So it's going to, if I have a duplicate, it's going to keep the highest number of clicks that's in there. And then I'm going to select the entire sheet again. And I'm going to clean up this data by removing the duplicates. The data does have a header row. I'm not going to select all though. I only want to select the same customer search terms. So that's the only thing I want to pull out of there. If you leave everything clicked on here, it probably won't remove anything, because the idea that the keyword would have the same impressions, clicks, CTR, CPC, all of that is pretty low. So I just want to remove the same customer search terms. So remove duplicates there, hit OK. And then I'm going to add in another column to the right, and I'm going to put negative phrase, and I'm going to add another column here to the right, and I'm going to do negative exact. Now, negative phrase is going to be a single keyword. Negative phrase is one keyword. It's one keyword that is completely irrelevant. You don't want it in there at all. The negative exact is the whole phrase if the whole phrase doesn't work or it has really, really poor performance. Another piece of this here, as we go through for negative phrase or negative exact, is you can do negative ASIN targeting as well. That's a little bit more specific. I generally don't suggest that unless it's spending a lot of money. So not something that I always suggest doing. And you want to look at it first to see if it's even relevant. So we can come to that. We can come back to that at the end. To get those out of there, we have done this before. You would take all of this that's left, do data, sort range, column A to Z. These numbers here are books. So we can take these. We'll just go throw these at the bottom of all of these. It's a lot to go through, guys. Look at that. Even after we remove duplicates, 529. Move those to the bottom. And then I'm going to go find my BOs, which is all of that product targeting. And I'm going to cut that, put this down at the bottom as well. And we'll come back to those later. So to get this resorted, we'll select everything that's the keywords. Data, sort range. I like to do it because I know that I'm going to go through this whole list. I like in alphabetical. Some people like to go by clicks. It really just depends on what your preference is. Oh, I didn't select the header. There we go. Data sort range has a header. There we go. Because I'll probably start seeing some similar stuff here. So as you go through this, you're going to just look for anything that isn't relevant to your product and start taking that out of there. So 8-year-old chef hat and apron makes sense for this product. Adjustable makes sense. This is a competitor name. You could even add in, if you wanted to get really complicated with this or really detailed with this, you could add in competitor and add those in there. Apron, to me, apron is too broad because it could be any kind of apron. So I'm actually going to put apron in as a negative exact, because if it's a negative phrase, it's going to negative out all of these other really good keywords that I have. But as a negative exact, if you just search apron, you're not going to find our ads there, which is great. Apron and chef hat, I would want to take a look at this and see, maybe for one click, I'm not super worried about it. So I'm going to leave that in there. Costume with kid looks good. For girl looks good. Kids, these all look really great. Apron costume. Okay, so this one, apron, daddy, chef hat. So this is not what we're looking for. So daddy is actually what I'm going to negative from this, because that implies that it's for an adult. These look good as well with pockets. Apron white. For cooking. Again, if you ever have a question about any of these, go look and see what's actually coming up on Amazon. You know, just do an actual search and then just determine from there, does my product make sense being here? Do I want to spend money to be in this spot? Apron for boys. When you're getting into colors, I always say when you're getting into colors, don't negative them, but make sure that they are ones that are actually being advertised within there. There's some more competitors. We can pull these over. AURYA. There's a couple of them there. This is for kids. It's not really for baby. I would probably put baby here because this is more for older kids, toddlers. Baby would imply like a newborn. Baker costume makes sense. Boy chef. This is pretty cleaned up already. There's not a lot of things going on in here that I would take out, but we just kind of go through this whole list and see if there's anything that sticks out at us. Yeah, tween, even tween might work. Youth, overnight one day. This is from Amazon, but I wouldn't negative it. I would leave that there. It's probably, yep, only got one click, so not anything too crazy. Ratatouille would imply that it's probably going to be part of a costume. I would leave this because in the movie Ratatouille, the chef wears plain white, and this is what we have. That's what we're offering. All right, XXL, kind of looking through these. Again, there's Ratatouille again. Kids, costume, dress up. These are really good. There's that delivery tomorrow. The middle school still works. Okay. Chef's hat and apron with bunny. We don't have a bunny for ours, so let's go ahead and add bunny in there. A lot of these look really good. Child's apron, child's baking apron. You'll go through these a little bit slower, but this is just kind of the idea of what you are trying to get towards. This one, cooking wear. So this is one that I would probably go take a look at. Is it adult cooking wear where it's focused? Is it kids cooking wear? What does that look like? Moving down a little bit. Yeah, the girls one's okay. Yeah, here's where we start getting some more competitors. Infant is not one that we sell. We don't have that size. We actually don't have oven mitts with ours either. So I'm going to add mitts in there. Yeah, a lot of these other ones look pretty good. Just moving down the list. Made in the USA. Girls 14. Flamingo. Here's one that I don't want because ours doesn't have a flamingo on it. Ours also does not have a coat. It is just an apron. So I will put coat here as well. This is a decent kind of start for it. You'd still go down the entire list. If you start pulling like thousands and thousands of keywords, the easiest way to get that brought down is to eliminate everything with one click. So if you only have one click over that 60 days, you probably aren't going to get a ton of traffic on it. It might have been a one-off. If you want to get everything super clean, you can go through those one clicks. But if it gets to be too much, the idea is that anything with a few clicks, I would even say like 3 to 5 or more, is starting to gain some traction. If you don't want it in there, that's the ones that you want to really focus on. So that's where you'd go with those. So what I do with this then is I would take, oh, and I've actually been putting these in here wrong. Look at me. I'm going to pull this to say these right here and add a final negative list. Okay. Negative exact for apron made sense. That baby made sense there, but there's some ones down here I got to move over because these should have been phrases. And flamingo and coat. I think that was the last one we pulled. All right. So from here, I'm going to just sort these columns so I have them ready to go. I hate that it does that. It doesn't have my headers sticking. There we go. Sort this one with the header. Okay. And then you can also go through here, remove the duplicate. So I do have duplicates here. So I'd select this. I know that I don't have any over here or in the negative exact. So I would select this one and do that data cleanup, remove duplicates. There we go. It'll take us down to just that list. So now that you have these, this is what you're going to upload into your broad and your auto campaign. So everything that you were getting ready to launch within the last video, you're going to want to put this in there too. So if you're building those out manually, make sure you have this list ready. You already know that this just goes in right when you're doing the campaign build. If you're doing this with Quartile, after you upload the campaigns, you can either upload these by bulk file or you can upload them manually within those BR campaigns. It just really depends on how many campaigns you're launching. The list that we had previously really wasn't a ton. You could probably do this manually quicker than you could build it out in a bulk file. But if you're doing, 20, 30, 50 of them, then you're going to want to get those bulk file skills sharpened so that you can save some time and efficiency. So that is what you're going to do as far as negative phrase, negative exact. You can add competitors in there too if you want to see how you perform with those. Completely up to you. But then if we're looking at the SPSTR here, going back to negatives, let's go find those ACen negatives. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hide all of this so that I can deal with just the bottom and still have my fancy headers up here. So from this list right here, what I want to do is sort by clicks high to low because I don't want to run all of these ACens. I don't want to make decisions on all of them. I only want to make decisions on the ones that are really showing multiple clicks. So data sort range, I'm going to do column F. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to have my cutoff be at 5. I'm not super concerned about these. If I wanted to go through each of them, I certainly could. The ones with 1, I'm really not going to worry about. But I'm actually just going to take this and I'm going to pull them. So Amazon.com/ if you do Amazon.com/DP/, you could think that as detail page and then put the ACen in, it will pull up what this product is. So for this one, this is a 10-piece kids chef hat apron set. So if I'm looking at this and then I'm going to compare it to what we're actually advertising on, which I'll go ahead and pull that as well, get that ACen from our campaign build. We have an apron set that's just a single apron set. So it's not 5 of them. It's just this one. Comes with 1 hat, 1 apron. It is not a 10-piece set like this. I don't want to put us on that. Number one, because they are showing bright colors. Number two, because it's not the same quantity. They're also cheaper price, so you're getting more with this one than you are with ours. We have a higher quality, of course, and ours looks a lot nicer, but this is not somewhere where we want to be. So with this one, this is one that I would say that we definitely want to negative out. So we'll go back to our negative list. And then if you wanted to add another one here, you do insert column to the right, put this over here, ASIN negative. And I'm just going to mark this first one. So the next one has 11. I'm going to come back here, just going to paste this in. So this one is almost identical to ours, but it's quite a bit cheaper. Now, this one does generally sell quite a bit cheaper. So this is probably one that we don't want to be on either. They have 1,239 ratings compared to our 30 ratings. They have more ratings. We do have a better star rating than they do, but they have a lot more than us. They're also cheaper. I don't want to be here either. I don't want to be more expensive with less ratings and try to compete with this. So I'm actually going to add this as a negative as well. And let's go through this one for 7 clicks. This one looks very similar to ours. Let's just price check this with the size. If you look at the medium white, they're $12.99. They also have 3,000 ratings. This is kind of the same thing here. I don't want to be on this because we're more expensive and we have less ratings. Go ahead and exit out there. And we'll do this one last just to give you guys kind of a comparison of these. So this does offer a white one. This is advertising on the green. It's $11.99. Again, with that 3,000 ratings, don't want to be here either. All right. So for this one, this is the ASINs that you're going to add into your ASIN negatives with your auto campaign. You can add these into your broad as well. It would be helpful to clean up if they're pulling anything from product targeting. So broads and autos more important than broads, but definitely get this in your auto campaign so that you're not pulling up on there. You can see that first one's already spent $18, which is the equivalent of what ours costs. So that's how a good way to save yourself some money right off the bat when you already know that things are not going to convert. So go ahead and get those negatives in there for some clean targeting, save yourself a little bit of money.
Wow, thanks, Melissa. That was a lot. And I'm sure you're feeling overwhelmed now as a result of watching that. Now, what I recommend you doing is you going back to watching her and have that video playing while you're doing it on the other side of your screen and slow it down. In YouTube, you can slow down the videos to be 0.5x and go through it at that 0.5x speed for your account exactly. This is the single biggest thing that you can do to scale your Amazon ads, to profit more with Amazon ads, and to profit more with your Amazon business. This is going to save you a significant amount of money while also bringing you in a lot more money. So take action on this. Download that search term report, find the words that you can scale, move them into a single keyword ad campaign, exact match only, move the ones that are really high, 10 or more sales, into a single keyword broad match campaign, and then do the same thing for your ASINs that you're targeting as well. If you found this video helpful, I'd love it if you shared with another fellow Amazon seller, because this helps tremendously with your Amazon business. So share it with somebody else that you think might benefit from it. Now, again, this was chapter 5. I'll see you in the next video in chapter 6. And if you haven't signed up for our free Amazon PPC masterclass, make sure you do that at profitablepineapple.com.